This podcast is brought to you by Penji. Penji is a creative subscription service that gives you access to pre-vetted, agency-trained creatives from all over the world. From graphic design to illustrations to social media management and web development, it's all included for one monthly price. It's time to say goodbye to the hassle of searching for top-notch creative talent. With Penji, you get quality and consistency delivered right to your inbox every day, carefully crafted for you by humans. So meet your new creative team today. Head over to penji.co for more and enter the coupon code located within the podcast show notes.
Alrighty, hello everyone, and welcome to the Fully Managed by Penji podcast, the podcast where we discuss marketing and business tips to help assist you on your business journey. I'm your host, Shannon, Penji's partnership coordinator, and I'm joined here today with a very special guest, Phil Wiseman from Analytics That Profit. Thank you so much for coming on with me today.
Shannon, great to be here.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. So could you just start by telling us a little bit about yourself? You can tell us a fun fact. It doesn't have to be professionally related, but be something that just shows who you are, and then kind of what inspired you to create this agency and how led you to this point in your career.
So, fun fact is I actually do have a degree in chemical physics,
I saw that.
and I'm also a drummer. So,
All-rounded individual. Yes.
and you would think that it has nothing to do with marketing, but long story short, I had an industrial wastewater treatment business for decades, sold that business, and a friend of a friend had a business and said, "Hey, I could use some help with sales." And so I've always enjoyed sales people. So as I started working with him, I was like, oh, I think we should update the website. I didn't know anything about websites. And I was like, we should probably run those Google ads people are talking about. I think that would help the business. And then we started doing that. And I was like, I don't really know what any of this means. And so I hired an agency to tell me what the agencies were doing. And then every month I'd get those reports of likes, clicks, impressions, shares, reach. And like, well, guys, that's not helpful. I've got employees here, and like, how many times did they click it and then they put in an RFQ? And I just wasn't getting the answers. And so I was complaining to a friend, and like, oh, Google Analytics answers all those questions. I'd never heard of Google Analytics.
Mhm.
And so became a Google partner, got all these Google Analytics certifications. And I was like, oh, I can answer all those questions. And so then I fired all the agencies, rebuilt the website, quit the Google ads, started producing content. And then I was talking to a friend one night and I was like, man, I figured out all these cool things about websites and marketing. He goes, man, you should start your own business and teach other business owners how to do this. And I was like, really? I thought everybody else had all this stuff figured out. So I started Analytics at Profit about 10 years ago, just as a side hustle, because I sold that one business, really didn't need to work. Um, but I found that so many small business owners had the same questions I had. And I always hear the same thing. I'm spending money on, and they just fill in the blank, but I don't know if it is working.
Mm.
So I love working with small business owners. I like to be very educational and explain. If you don't understand something, don't buy it. And so many business owners, oh, I need SEO, so they'll buy it. They don't know what they're buying, or I need marketing, or I should run ads, but they don't understand it. They don't have a defined outcome. They end up spending all this money and they don't know what the result should be. So I call it's kind of like the emperor's clothes. Oh,
Mhm.
should have this. Don't know what it is. Spending a lot of money, but this is what I should do. So that's the whole focus behind Analytics Profit is educating business owners to make informed decisions about marketing. And of course, me being the nerd, having a degree in chemical physics, I love measuring things. So I'm all about the data to help them inform their decisions.
It's perfect. I think that it's really helpful to have found this place that needed help. Like I think that a lot of agencies will maybe kind of hop on something just because they're, experienced in that field. And that's fine too. It's great to be able to do what you're experienced in and you can help in that way. But it's nice to find something new that you realize, is a problem. Um, especially, I actually was curious because, and I think you answered my question was, did you kind of create this agency through a reaction to something that you were seeing evidence of? Because it seems like a lot of your language on your website and how you discuss these things are that people are wasting money or they're wasting time doing some things that aren't yielding results. Because, of course, clicks and impressions and likes and whatever are important. Um, Maybe, but, if they're not getting you any money or sales, then it doesn't really matter how many of those things you're getting. Just have something entertaining out there, and that doesn't get you any clients.
I like to alternatively define marketing terms. So impressions are how many people ignored you.
Mhm.
And so, but yeah, it's exactly that. It's like looking at those numbers. I came into this um, just wanting to just have a one-time engagement with a business owner and help them understand how to use Google Analytics, connect these dots. But I've had customers from day one. I don't do contracts and I don't do retainers. Everything is month to month, and I've had customers now for like 9+ years. Uh,
Mhm.
But I just feel like the pressure should be on the agency, the person you're working with, to produce results. And you
Mhm.
shouldn't feel constrained by a contract because you're going to hear that, give it 3 more months, or let's try this. And so I really like to have defined outcomes, really clear objectives so that we understand where we're going, why we're going there, and what success looks like.
Mhm. No, I completely understand that, and I like that you're able to lay that out for them because I think that provides a extensive level of transparency to your clients and potential clients. And I think that that's really important because a lot of people will go to agencies and, they can show evidence of those things like clicks, likes, impressions, whatever. And that might look like a good thing and that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. But yeah, if the end result, those things are supposed to lead to what everyone is looking for or sales and people using their services actually. And when those aren't translating, then what's the point in hiring this agency? Like just to become a social media presence? That's not helping you. It's
I agree.
yeah. So now it's cool that you've filled that need because I don't see that very often. I think that it's all kind of the typical agency that you run into. And that's fine. And they're they could be doing what you're doing and it's not advertising that, but I like that you have a very specific goal in mind and that is to do what these other agencies say they're going to do, but you have evidence of it beyond just the impressions. Uh,
Yeah. And with the technology we have now, you can measure just about everything. It's called a pixel, which is just a little piece of script. So even if you're running a over the top ad and somebody clicks on it, with a pixel, you can track back all these different sources of advertising, referral sources. You can track all these things, and it really helps you go, oh, yeah, we're doing this, and that brought us this traffic. And then you take it a step further, and that seems to be connecting with our ideal customer, and we're getting more leads and closing more business from this specific channel. Well, guess what? Spend more money on that channel and forget about the others.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that a lot of people have a difficult time allocating what they're supposed to be doing. Um, they see a need for something and they go forward with trying to remedy that or to fill it, but it's not in the right place or it's not really what they're supposed to be focusing on. And I think that, a lot of businesses or other agencies want to be well rounded in the way that they do things. And so, something's working for them. They don't want to put all their eggs in one basket, but sometimes that's what you got to do. Like there's risks in marketing. And sometimes, if something's working, then you should keep doing
Great, 100%.
it. So, how? But maybe this is like too general of a question, but how do you guarantee these things when you advertise? Like, is it just the statistics that you're talking about? You can look up practically everything at this point, and you're just gonna keep an eye on those things. Like, what's the difference between how you do things and agencies that do something similar to you?
So, like I mentioned, being a nerd, I used to be heavily involved in the quality field and taught classes.
Mm,
So I'm very process driven. And so I have a process to everything I do. And I tell everyone up front when we first start talking, I have a process. We won't deviate from that. And that's not open for discussion or debate.
mm,
So the first part of my process is I have an onboarding questionnaire. And I ask the questions that people really need to ask, like, what searches do you want to show up for on the internet? Tell me about that ideal client. And I love it. People go, well, everybody's our ideal client. I was like, that's just not true. Problem with most marketing is it's not hyper specific. You mentioned my website, and I've gone to networking events. People will go to my website and go, man, you're kind of rough and abrasive. And I go, yes, I am, because my ideal client is a business owner and they're
mm,
tired of BS. And they read that and they go, he gets me. What he's telling is the exact things I'm having. And so that it's honing in on what do you want to show up for when people are looking on the internet? And then two, who is that ideal client? And then the most overlooked easy part of my process, we every business you're in, you get asked the same 5 questions all the time, right?
mhm,
All the time.
mhm,
And people go, what should I write about? Well, why don't we talk about the problems your ideal customer has, your solution, and then the next piece that's often missed is, and how can I do business with you? You've
mhm,
had that experience. You get on a website and you go, oh, that's great. And you read some information, but order now, schedule an appointment. Where's that button? Or you
mhm,
have to click and then it takes you to another page and they want to play a cutesy game with a calculator or have you fill out, a whole bunch of forms. And it's like, no, 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 frictionless. Somebody comes to your website, they should be able to get everything they need in 3 clicks.
yeah.
So a lot of what I do is looking at the user experience and then the SEO piece, of course. Everybody thinks SEO is some magic. It's not. It's listening to your client, answering their questions, and then measuring that for effect.
Do you ever run into, like, a problem with a potential client or maybe a already client, where they're not transparent with you about certain things, or maybe they think that they should be doing something, but it's actually not what's gonna be helping them in the long run, and you kind of realize that?
So that's a big component of any business relationship, and that's trust. We meet somebody for the first time, initial conversations, they've moved themselves along to a certain point of trust, but you have to continue to build trust so that they can be honest with you because a lot of times they've been burned in the past working with somebody. And so they kind of keep their cards close to their chest because it's like, I don't want to share everything because last time I did that, they talked me into this. And man,
Mhm,
I spent all that money and it didn't work out. And so most people aren't transparent because they don't have that level of comfort. But my personality, I'm just kind of blunt and to the point, and so people quickly figure out, yeah, he's not really playing around. What you see is what you get, and so that candor allows people to also, you know, relate back to me. Hey, I just spent $12,000 with this company. I have no idea what they did. You heard that from a person that's now a client.
That's horrible. Good for you, I guess, but that's horrible. Oh my goodness. But I mean, and that's nice. I mean, it's hard to get that information from people sometimes. I don't even think sometimes it's that they're nervous about doing business sometimes, which I think is common as well. But sometimes it's just um they're embarrassed sometimes because they're not doing as well as they want to be doing. And even though they're looking for you as help, a lot of people are um what's the word I'm looking for? Prideful of their business and wanting it to do well. And it's difficult for them to have those conversations.
And that's particularly true. of a business owner that has built that company from, say, themselves and family, and now they're 10, 20, 30 employees. So you're right. They're very intertwined in the business. And what I try to explain to people is you're not scalable. There's been great movies where they take the remote control and they clone you. That's not possible. So what you have to do is are come up with processes that are repeatable and scalable. Because as you grow, you need, some people call them playbooks. I call them processes. It's really the same thing.
Mhm.
You write down what's successful, how you do things, and then turn that into a process that other people can follow. And then you can have everybody doing the same thing the same ways. Because I used to joke when I was running a quality certified company is that um, you can change processes, but you can't fix people. And it's kind of true. If most people want to do their best work, and if you have a well-defined process, they can do that process and be successful. If the process isn't working, you can change the process. You don't have to change the people.
Mhm.
Most people can be successful given the right tools, but they don't know what those tools are. And particularly people who have started a business, they only see one way of doing things, and that's often an obstacle when they get to a certain amount of revenue, a certain number of employees. They kind of get stymied in their growth because they haven't thought that forward. There's a million people out there now that could be your business coach, life coach, financial coach, or whatever. What I encourage business owners when they kind of hit that point is go find somebody that's run a business, that's been a CEO, that's been a CFO, that is now offering consulting because they've been there, they've done that.
Mhm.
They understand that mental process you're going through. So we kind of went off topic a little bit. Uh,
Fun.
that happens to a lot of people. It's like they just kind of get stuck. And then, in all honesty, a lot of people don't know the answers. They've never really thought really deeply about why do people buy from me? And that's one of the questions I ask my questionnaire. Why do people buy from you and not your competitor?
Mhm.
And a lot of people have never really thought about that because they haven't talked to their customers and asked them, why did you choose us and not XYZ company?
Mhm.
Candid feedback from your customers. Find out why are they doing business with you initially? And if they're a long-standing customer, why are they staying with you? What services, what is it you do that makes them want to continue that relationship?
Yeah, I think it's really important to constantly have that kind of communication because you find out more about them and how you can make your business better too. Not even just it's nice. It's nice to get compliments. Everyone loves compliments. But criticism is something that you can get from those conversations too. And as long as it's fair, obviously, I think that's a really great place to start and like grow and learn from what your clients need. Sometimes it might be too much of an ask, but sometimes it's something that you can look towards the future in navigating and making better. And the more you listen to your customers, the more likely that you can have good relations with them in the future. And I think that even like a bad relationship can be a really good learning experience because you ask yourself why. Um, and that sucks. And maybe don't avoid doing that in the future.
And don't send a 20-question survey. Pick up the phone and talk to them.
No one wants.
To your point, relationships, um, the opposite of love is not hate. It's ambivalence. And I think
Mhm.
that happens in business relationships is people just quit caring. And that happens, it's like you'll have customers that may hate you, but because your product is superior or they'll continue to do business with you. So the opposite of love isn't hate. When you quit caring, when you become ambivalent, that's when everything falls apart.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's definitely important to consider those things at all times. It's just, yes, it is hard sometimes to not get absorbed in them. Like, oh, all these things that people are saying are wrong. And sometimes they're not valid and you're just overly critical of your business and all those different things. You gotta have to balance it. But the constantly considering what your customers feel and how they're feeling and how you react to that is so unbelievably important in the success of your business. And I think unfortunately, people don't consider that enough, which is crazy because if you're providing a service, then do you not want that service to be, you know, something that they enjoy using, because you can have a service that yields good results, debatably, or successful results, but the process is horrible and no one likes doing that and no one likes working with you. And that sounds, not a good experience. I think I was talking about this earlier, but especially most agencies are reliant on referrals. I'm sure at a certain extent that's all they are reliant on, rather than outreach or different things like that. And I think that those relationships are so crucial for referrals, because you like someone can, like the end result, but if the process was horrible and they didn't enjoy it, then they're very much less likely to refer you. People have to have an outstanding experience at this point to even write a review, because people would rather do other things with their time. Unless they really hated you, which I feel like when you hate something, you're way more likely to write a bad review than you are to write a good review. You need outstanding results to write a good review, because no one really feels like it.
And that's absolutely true. When we're mad, we want to, yell at that company and tell them the bad things they did. But then also a big piece, this gets back to the trust. So a referral comes with trust built in, because the person referring, you have a relationship with them. So therefore, there's a little bit of trust built in. But also, reviews are a very important part of that trust component.
Mhm.
So if you go and see all 5-star reviews, you read the comments. Now, me, I like reading the negative comments. I like reading the
I
1-star
read the
reviews.
negative comments first. Well,
I want to see how the company responded.
Mhm.
Were they empathetic? Did they realize they have a problem? They're trying to solve it. And you need to ask for reviews. People think, oh, we do a great job. People give it, ask them, a simple follow-up email after your service or what they've done, and go, hey, tell us what you think. Click here to leave a review. And you might have to send that more than once, because guess what? We get 100 emails a day, and sometimes we just ignore 'em.
People do, and it's okay. That's fine. I kind of get it. I think I'm the only person that actually takes surveys at the end of, like, even my insurance company. After I call them, I always take their survey. And I think it's just because I being in this industry, I understand how important they are. So, especially for someone's job, depending on good surveys, like, and I know that people are much more likely to write a bad review than a good review. Because, if your experience was overtly average, then you're not gonna tell someone that. It's you're not gonna review them at all. And so I feel for those people that their performance reviews are based off of these surveys. But I think that's true to agencies too. Is that the fact that you have to, you know, there is I appreciate the emphasis that you have on trust and transparency, because, people aren't just the referral base of, someone had a good experience and that's nice, but, they have to have a good enough experience to want their friend to use you too, and not be scared that you're not going to do good by them. Like, I'm not going to tell someone to get something if I thought it was or I thought that, it was bad, obviously, that would make me look bad. And that's the same thing of, like, you recommend someone to work at your workplace and then they do horrible. And then your boss is like, well, what kind of person what kind of person am I hiring? They're doing a good job, but they have these kind of friends. I don't know. Been in the restaurant industry where I've, um, had someone come out and like, "Oh, yeah, my friend needs a job," and then, they lasted a month. I'm like, "Guys, I'm so sorry."
That's why they need a job, because they're not good at it.
Exactly, and that's what happens. And you'll refer your average Joe or some guy that needs a job. You want to refer someone that you trust and you can trust to do good by your friend or your business partner or your anything. You don't want to refer someone that's average or horrible, obviously. And that's incredibly important. So I had a couple questions about your website. I think it's really fun. So I wanted to ask you about it. So, do you think that the unique way that you talk about things, like you curse, you call yourself nerdy? I love all these things. I think it adds personality to a website, and I love when I see stuff like this. Do you think that advertising yourself this way helps gain clients that you think you'll enjoy working with?
So I have a friend that's really good at developing buyer personas. And years ago, we'd worked together, and my website kind of evolves over time. And yes, that's my personality. And yes, I have a personalized license plate that says nerd.
It's
I have another personalized license plate that says drummer. But I learned a long time ago that I want to chase people away from me. I want my ideal client to come. So I've worked on the copy on my website over and over. This latest iteration, um, it actually I was on a networking call, and we broke into these private rooms, and somebody in the group says, "What is it you really do?" And so I just kind of flippantly said, "Oh, I separate the real shit from the bullshit in digital marketing."
mm,
She goes, "That should be on your website." And I said, "Oh, that." So I tested it out with several people. They all agreed, so I put that up there, and I was like, "I like this because it's telling people if you're ready to get serious, this is a guy to talk to." For those that don't like that don't like the bluntness, then a traditional agency is what they're looking for. They're not looking to work with me. So I keep tweaking my website to chase away my non-ideal customer.
I love that. That's incredible. And I also I I love to see a business owner, agency owner, whatever it may be, that, you know, wants to form these relationships because they respect themselves for who they are. Like, that is so wonderful. I understand, like, when you have a startup, it's very difficult sometimes to be able to, you pick and choose who you work with, kind of, so to speak. Um, but I think that at a certain level that you can, be sustainable, uh, you know, working with people that you enjoy doing so. It's a great, one, it's a great feat to achieve, but it's also, it makes work fun. It makes work more enjoyable. You want to work with people that you think are fun to work with, and like, don't give you a hard time. And of course, earlier on, you do have to deal with those people, of course, and that's okay. You need to make money, but it's nice to get to that point. It also shows, that you, again, you respect yourself and you respect what you can do, and you want to work with people that also do that.
And you made a good point. It kind of depends on where you are in your career, in your company, in your business. Um, I'm in a unique spot that I really don't have to do business with anybody I don't like. Now, in my younger days, when I was in water treatment, I learned early on to come up with the PIA premium. And you're probably going, Phil, what's a PIA? There were certain engineers I worked with, I won't say which type, a pain in the ass. I upcharged them 20%, and I literally put it on the invoice, PIA 20%. And I never will forget, one of the engineers said, "What's this PIA on the invoice?" And I said, "Mark, you're a pain in the ass to work with." They had their own spreadsheets, things had to be their certain way, and it was extra work for me, which I didn't mind doing, but I compensate myself for that extra effort and time. And a lot of people are afraid to do that. I'm like, don't cheapen yourself. If
Mhm,
it's more work, don't work for free. And if
mhm,
they don't value you enough to pay you more, they're probably going to leave for somebody that's cheaper anyway.
mhm. No, I love that. I love that mentality, and I think that more people should be able to view it that way. And of course, again, you also touched on the fact, of course, there's people that are at a certain point in their life or their business that can't do that, and they don't have the luxury to do that. And that sucks, but you'll work your way to being able to do that, hopefully. And that's the American dream. Just being able to call people a bit in the ass. Yeah. I guess. But yeah, no, it's I think I love seeing that because especially in business, you deal with a lot of assholes. That,
And if you're going to do extra work, you should be compensated for it.
yeah,
And
100%.
I used to work with a lot of startups, kind of showing them how to use Google Analytics and Google Search Console and connecting the dots. And they would have this great opportunity with, maybe a brand name player or a really large account. And the first thing most of them would say would they be talking about a discount. I was like, oh, no, 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 no. I said, their expectations are going to be so much more. It's much more work than you're envisioning. you need to up your prices. And it was very difficult for people early on. But I was working with one lady, brilliant chemical engineer, had a great business, and she was so underselling herself in the market. And finally I said, you just need to double your prices. And I finally convinced her. And when she did, she came back, she goes, oh my goodness. She goes, all my clients were like, well, we wondered why it took you so long,
Wow.
because she
Well,
was
that's really
happy.
so yeah. No, that's really good, and I think that, when you undersell yourself, sometimes it's at a detriment, not only just because you're not making as much money, but also because some people look down on you for that, unfortunately, because they're like, "Well, why is this so cheap?" kind of thing. A lot of people question them, and, once you once you deal with them and maybe you hire them or whatever, maybe you might find out that that's not the case, but a lot of people just look at your prices and see that they're lower than everyone else's and not think that's a good thing.
And in my case, uh, I would say my standard fees are substantially less than these big box groups. And there's a reason for that. One, I've been using AI, machine learning, language learning models for a very long time
An incredible tool.
for data analysis. And I get the results I need very quickly because I've built these models based on experience. And so I don't need hours and hours and hours. I want the data analysis to be super quick, fast, so I can spend time then thinking about the best possible outcomes, the best ways to use that information. And because people go, I was paying, 3 times that much. And I was like, well, I'm sorry. I'm not going to charge you 2 times more because I know what I want to make per hour. That's my pricing model is built that way. And I'm fine with it.
Yeah, and it's respectable that you're not trying to take advantage of them just because you know the price is like higher somewhere, like somewhere else that is doing the same thing as you.
Correct. There's an old expression in sales: pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered.
I actually really like that. I love hearing different expressions that I've never heard. And I have my boyfriend says a lot of interesting things that I've never heard of in my life. And I just think he's from upstate Pennsylvania and he has a lot of weird lingo, but it's my favorite thing on the earth. So thank you. I'm going to use that one for him. So he's going to think that I grew up with that. But this is actually all the time that we have today, which is very unfortunate. We didn't get to the game, but that's okay because we had a great conversation, so it doesn't matter. I really appreciate you coming on with me today because I think that I really learned a lot, so I really appreciate that. That's always my number one. But it was just a fun time, so I really
It's been my pleasure, and I'm so happy you invited me.
thank you so much. I appreciate that again. And everyone that's watching or listening, please don't forget to like and subscribe to see more stuff like this. I appreciate you coming on, Phil, and thank you again.
You've been listening to Fully Managed, brought to you by Penji. Check out the show notes to learn more about today's guest, and to learn more about Penji, the human-first creative subscription service, head over to penji.co. And by the way, if you're still listening, it would mean the absolute world to us if you were to share this podcast with a friend, and of course, subscribe.